Hi, everyone. Thank you again for tuning in to the Placement Exchange 2017 webinar series. And so this is the last webinar that we have for all of the this year's webinars. And so today we're going to be talking about understanding benefits a little bit more. And we thought that it would be best to be able to attack this by just simply answering a lot of the questions that you have or that were sent in. And then if you have questions as we are going along, I just want you to go ahead and type them into the, into the discussion piece or the question bar so that I can answer them along the way. And so my name is Donald Walker, and I served on the TPE Planning Committee this year on the Candidate Development Planning team. And so myself and Erica will be facilitating the webinar today. And so I guess we can go ahead and jump right in.
Okay, Donald, the first question that we have is there a certain approach to asking employers about the benefits their institution provides?
Sure. So I'm glad the question was asked. I was actually talking to someone that I am mentoring through the interview process right now. And there's a couple thoughts that I have when it comes down to asking about benefits when you are going through the interview process. Number one, you should never, ever, ever leave a campus interview if you've made it that far in the process without understanding and knowing fully what the benefits are that are offered. If you're in an on-campus interview, a lot of times there's a closing interview or there's an opening interview where you can ask someone and say, hey, I haven't necessarily gone through the benefits orientation or the benefits process yet, and I'd just like to know what the benefits are when coming into this job. The other piece of this whole benefits part on asking during the interview process is the employer knows and understands that you're coming in to take a job and that you are going to be compensated for it. And so a lot of times when you're entering into the later stages of the interview process, it's perfectly fine for you to be able to ask in an informal way, can somebody go over what the benefits are for me? Some schools have that built into their on-campus interview process regardless. And so you can take a look at what the benefits are and somebody will go over that with you. But if you've made it pretty far in the process and you haven't heard anything, whoever your point of contact is, you can always ask, can you go over the benefits with me so that I understand what it is, what the university benefits are walking into this position, because that's something that's important to me. And so if you haven't made it that far or they're not willing to share, that should be a little bit of a red flag for you, because benefits are something that's offered at every single institution across the board, and they should openly share what those things are for you. And if they're not willing to openly share, I would recommend talking to a mentor, talking with somebody about how to enter into that conversation. If you have a contact person who's running the search or a campus host, they should be able to answer that. Or if all else fails, you can always call the human resources office at that institution to ask what are the university benefits for a faculty or staff member based on the type of job that you're applying for.
Great. So the next question that we have is, are there benefits negotiable during the interview process?
Oh, great question. So my answer is yes and no. With benefits, so when we talk about benefits, we're normally talking about a package of benefits that the institution has put together for their employees to be able to, that's in addition to their compensation. A lot of times when people hear benefits, they lump that in with the compensation package, which is how much you're getting paid, if there's relocation expense, et cetera. A lot of times your compensation package is something that is negotiable, and it might not be for entry-level positions or, I mean, it depends on the school and it depends on the position. A lot of times what I found is that state institutions and entry-level positions, a lot of those things are not negotiable. But as you move up the ladder, some of those things are a little bit more negotiable, and that's compensation. When we're talking about benefits, though, a lot of times benefits might not be something that is negotiable, because those are something that human resources has already worked out with a lot of different places. And so what will happen is that sometimes, as far as your benefits are concerned, you can pick and choose what it is that you want. So when we talk about health insurance, there's a bunch of different options that a school might have for you to be able to pick what type of health insurance you want. And that's not negotiable. It's just you kind of pick what you need. When we talk about retirement plans, a lot of those things, again, aren't negotiable. They're just, this is what the university offers, and this is what you can opt into, or this is what you don't have to opt into. Some universities require that you enter into a type of retirement plan no matter what. And so, again, not necessarily a negotiable thing. You can just opt in or choose not to opt in based on whatever the university requirements are.
Great. I think the next question actually ties into what are those sets of pieces in the compensation or the benefits that people typically think about when it comes to negotiation, and which ones do people normally accept versus leaving behind? What are some things that maybe you can either replace or choose to decline on?
Okay, so I think I understand. So Erica, just let me know if you feel like I'm missing something here.
Sure.
So as far as what people accept or might choose to leave behind, a lot of times health insurance is one of those things that you can accept or choose to leave behind, and here's why. Even though health insurance is mandated across the board, a lot of times you might be on somebody else's insurance, and you just have to be able to prove that you have health insurance when working at whatever institution you choose to work at. And so whether you have health insurance with a partner, whether you select to have health insurance with an outside agency, or whether you choose to have health insurance at your institution where you're the primary person, those are all things that you can either select to have or choose not to have. It just really depends on what your personal situation is and what that might look like. With health insurance, sometimes there's a bunch of different levels of different types of health insurance that comes along with different things. So for example, if you have, you might choose the medical insurance, but then you might not want prescription coverage, or you might not want eye coverage because your eyes are really low, or you might not want the dental that comes along with it. And so you would just have to ask the institution what it is that you would want versus what it is that you may or may not need. On the other hand, some other things that people either opt in or opt out of, sometimes there are benefits such as buying services or discounts on different things. And when I say buying services, some universities, or if you're working for the state, for example, the state may have negotiated rates on different cars that you might be able to buy. They might have negotiated rates on different memberships and things like that. And all of that's just kind of up to you to pick and choose what you may want or what you may not want. And then the other part that people think about opting in or opting out of is what retirement plans look like. And so I'm sure there'll be a question about that goes a little bit more in detail about retirement plans. And so I'll probably save the whole retirement plan piece for a different question. Did I get it, Erica, you think?
I think you nailed it. And
okay,
definitely, if anyone has any follow-up questions, don't hesitate to send them in even after the webinar to candidates@theplacementexchange.org. But that definitely was a great overview of some more important and predictable components of the package that you could comb through.
Perfect.
Okay, so the next question is, when does it make sense to accept lower pay related to a position that includes an ideal benefits package?
I think it's going to be based on what you can and can't afford more than anything. And so for me, I always look at the whole package of what you're receiving versus what the actual dollar amount of your pay will be. So, for example, the way that I kind of work things out in my head, or and the way that I talk with people about working numbers out in your head, is that whatever your salary is, so say that you get hired in a job and it's going to take, and say you're getting paid, just for example, $30,000. If you're getting paid $30,000, and then they have a pretty comprehensive benefits package, which includes health insurance, eye insurance, and all the different insurances. Well, it's going to cost you money to be able to have those insurances, right? And then on the back end of it, you might get other things. So there might be tuition remission that's there. There might be other things that you can opt into. And I always tell people that your benefits package, with everything taken out, plus taxes taken out, you can expect that all of those things will probably cost about 30% of your salary. And so even though you're getting paid $30,000, once you take out all the other things, if you think that you can get by on what that $21,000 is because your benefits package is there, and then you can do the math on, if I get $21,000, how much is that, in cash that I'm taking home per week, et cetera, and that's going to meet your budget standards, then it might be okay for you to take the lower salary, because you can live off of whatever that dollar amount was. The other thing that I tell grad students all the time is, think about it this way, and this is very specifically focused on people who are moving out of a grad student, maybe a grad assistantship position that wasn't a full-time position, into your first full-time position, is that you're all of a sudden going to be making a whole lot more money than what you were taking home in cash in grad school. And a lot of times we like to talk about, well, I worked for my tuition, I worked for this, I worked for that. I get all of that, but at the end of the day, you're money-wise, you're going to bring home more cash now than what you have before. And so you might not know what that looks like because you just haven't had the opportunity yet to see what those paychecks are and see what your cost of living is going to be in a new position. And so to get back to the core of the question, though, thinking about what you can sacrifice to take that lower salary, it really depends on what the benefits package is. And if you can take that salary, subtract 30%, and you think that you can live on that, then you should probably be okay with whatever the salary is that they offered.
Great. So now we're about to segment into some retirement-related questions.
I knew they were coming.
And the first one is, what should I keep in mind while considering retirement plan options?
Sure. So a lot of times there are two major things that I tell people to keep in mind with retirement options. Option number one is there are so many different plans that people can pick from, and it's really difficult to do, especially if this is your first job and you don't understand retirement at all. And it's like, oh, this is my very first job. I'm 23, 24 years old, and I'm having to make a decision for something when I'm 65 or 70. And that can be a little intimidating, but always remember, number one, you can change your retirement plan as you go along if it's not working for you and you're learning more things. And so with the retirement plan, there are typically two different types of options in higher education that I run into, that most of my friends have run into, that I have talked with, is that there are national retirement accounts. And so there's things like TIAA Express, which is probably one that people have heard about. That one's really popular in higher education, in education just in general. There's Fidelity and some Merrill Lynch and some other ones where those accounts will follow you to whatever school that you go to as long as they still offer that same account. So, for example, for my first job, I had a TIAA prep account, and then when I moved into an assistant director position, that account just followed me from one school to the other. In fact, I called them to say, hey, I moved schools, and they already knew, and they had already transferred everything over, which was really nice. The other piece to that is that a lot of times if you're working for a state institution, they have a state-type retirement plan that you can opt into. I typically tell people, and again, this is something that you're going to have to make a decision on, is that unless you are going to retire in that state or you're planning to retire in that state, that may or may not be the best option. And the only reason why is because they encourage those. When you think about education, you think about teachers. A lot of times, teachers aren't moving from state to state to state. And then if you move out of that state, then you can't continue to contribute to that state's retirement plan. And so sometimes I say, just, pick one of the bigger ones that can follow you around if you plan on moving around. Or if you don't know what you're planning on doing, picking one of the national ones is a little bit of a safer bet for you. The other part of this is going to be when you're thinking about a retirement plan is how much do you actually want to contribute? Because there are certain percentages, or the university or institution will allow you to contribute a certain percentage of your salary to this retirement plan that they'll take out of your paycheck every single week or every 2 weeks or every month, however they choose to do it. In my recommendation, I always tell people if you can contribute the maximum amount of whatever that percentage is, and normally it's around 6, 7, 10, or 15%, somewhere like that, of your salary into that, it's a great place to be right from the beginning. If you can't contribute that much, contributing something to it every single time is really important so that you can start to build your net wealth over time. And it's a really good way for you to be able to start to save money, and you can't touch that money, which is good for you in the long run. The other part of that is that a lot of places will have employee matching programs. And so if you are an employee and you decide that you're going to contribute 10% into your retirement plan, and then the institution also chooses that no matter what it is, they'll match that, that's free money coming your way just for contributing to the retirement plan. And so being able to ask your human resources department about what those matching strategies look like is a good way to try to figure out, what is it that I should be contributing to my retirement overall. The other part is that you might be able to contribute additional cash to your retirement plan as well. And so if you can contribute that additional cash, then that's another way to continue saving. You don't want to contribute so much that you don't have any money to operate day-to-day with your day-to-day expenses. But I always think it's a good idea to contribute to your retirement as much as you can. And those are the two major things that I think about with retirement is, do I want to go into whatever system they have at the school, or do I want to do one of the larger ones if those are offered? And then how much money do I want to contribute overall? Hello?
Sorry about that, Donald.
Okay.
The next question you
I was
touched on
just
that.
making sure I didn't cut out.
No, it's that whole, mute option that's there.
That's all right.
So the next question you've touched on it a bit in the answer to the last question. This is about supplemental insurance or supplemental retirement investment.
Yeah.
And what that looks like and what that means. And then also, when should I increase my retirement contributions?
Okay. So what a supplemental retirement account is that it refers to some of the national accounts that I was talking about, right? And so if the school has their own retirement system in place, when they talk about a supplemental retirement plan, it's simply one of the larger accounts that you're not going to opt into whatever the initial account was. You're going to you're basically saying I'm going to opt into the supplemental one, which is just an additional retirement account that you can opt into. And that's as simple as I can put it. And then to answer the other question on when do you know that you should contribute more to your retirement account?
Yes.
I'm going to say it depends on you. I don't necessarily know that there's a specific formula or a specific way that you need to decide whether you should contribute to your account or not. It really depends on what makes the most sense for you. So if you think that you can afford more after, so say that you just pick an arbitrary number when you first get in there and you decide that, hey, I think I can contribute more after 6 months or so, then go ahead and up it. Or if you think, hey, maybe I'm putting too much into this and I don't have enough money to function, and so this is a way for me to be able to back off of my retirement plan a little bit, then you can do that as well. It just really depends on what makes the most sense in your world. And so honestly, with the retirement plans for the first time around, it's really a guessing game on, does this make the most sense? The way that I guessed when I first started and the way that I recommended it for other, especially entry-level employees, is try with the maximum and then try to live off of the amount of money that you then make with it contributing to your maximum, because you'll thank yourself later for it. And then if you need to change it, then you can always go through and talk with your human resources department to change it afterward.
Great. So the next question is, how can I save money effectively without compromising my daily budget?
I think it's just a matter of figuring out what's a sustainable living for you. And so I always tell people, when you budget, just think about what's going to be most important on that budget, so that you can really figure out. Hold on, I'm losing my train of thought here. So that you don't exceed your budget. You don't necessarily want to dump all of your money into your benefits. So you don't want to get every single benefit option that they have, or you don't want to contribute, 50% of your paycheck to your retirement, and then you don't have any cash to be able to operate your day to day. And so it's just a matter of making good choices and thinking about your lifestyle. Like, I tell people, especially entry-level professionals, that because it's a hard thing to learn, is, don't necessarily go out to eat every day. Don't buy lunch every single day. Think about, what can I pack and how can I make some different types of decisions so that I'm maintaining my budget and I'm also saving money along the way. Because even though you're putting money into your retirement, you also probably want to put some savings away so that you can start to think about how you're going to build your life after this job or after this position is over.
Awesome. That was the last question that was submitted. If anyone has any additional questions, feel free to email them to the candidate's email address, which is candidates@theplacementexchange.org. And also, I want to give you just some other places for you to catch more updates and follow us online. Definitely the Placement Exchange is on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, in addition to submitting questions through the email address. And we also want to encourage everyone to continue to look out for volunteer opportunities through the Placement Exchange. Not only is it a fun way to network, but also to add to your professional development. And we just want to thank you, Donald, for presenting just the questions that have been submitted for those who needed additional information in regards to understanding benefits, especially as they take on new positions within the field.
Absolutely. And if anybody has any questions, like Erica said, just go ahead and send those in, and we'll get those answered for you as best we can.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
All right. Thanks, Erica.